Hello. Today I'm going to give you all a demo with a Skeer system blade. It's a Pro Plus MCR model that can work automatically. You can work in two modes: manual mode and automatic mode. In manual mode, you have to make sure that you're always adjusted correctly to your traction level and only play with the curl motion like that, as if you were working with your bucket. So an MCR blade works with a continuous flow of oil. It has a proportional valve and has to be supplied with oil continuously. With my SVL95, this button activates the continuous flow. One beep means that the oil is currently running through the system. If I press a second time, it beeps twice. These two beeps mean that I stop the continuous flow to the blade. So I activate the hydraulic continuous flow and adjust to traction level, unlike our standard tilt plate models, where the traction level adjustment is done with slots at the rear of the quick attach. With an MCR blade, since you can move the blade up and down, we don't have this adjustment when we're in automatic mode, so I can override all of my functions with the joysticks. No skid steers have what it takes to avoid having to add other auxiliaries or switches. We always try to work with compatible joysticks. In this case, if I take the left joystick here, it allows me to raise my central cylinder, making the blade go up and down. Here, you see, there's a white mark at the back when I put it at the junction of the flat bar of my quick attach. That means that I am at traction level adjustment point. I keep my hydraulic flow running since it also allows all the other movements. I have my swivel on the left joystick and my tilt on the right joystick, so I'm going to set myself to traction level. Then I'll push this spile, which is roughly the equivalent of a 10 or 12 wheeler. After that, I'll lower my arms to the lowest point, curl forward and start. I slow down as I will begin my rough grade. I push about 3 to 4 inches. It doesn't matter much. And I will grade it as evenly as possible as I am going. As you can see, at traction level, it's easy to work with because we know that our cutting edge, the base of the cutting edge, is at the same level as the bottom of the tracks. That's the secret of our technology, which means we can grade quickly and precisely. See the kind of grading it does in manual mode. Of course, we also want the automatic, mostly for slopes, whether it's 1 or 2 slopes, or to get very precise levels. It can get very tricky by just eyeballing it. You would usually need someone with a grade rod and laser receiver to check and give the heights. You can avoid that when working automatically. So we'll give it one last pass manually. I use the bucket curl motion to stay as plumb as possible. As you can see, in a few minutes, the pile is completely spreaded. Now I'm going to open both wings. For a Kubota machine, I activate the alternative mode. You see the green light on, then I can open the wings. I shake them well a few times at the end of the stroke to make sure there is no material jammed under the pivot, in the hinge. When it hits solid, you know that the wings are fully opened. Now I deactivate the alternative mode. To activate the automatic, I will first deactivate the hydraulic flow, because if the automatic mode is activated while the continuous flow is on, my sensors will pick up the signal from the transmitter and the blade will start moving the height and tilt automatically to try to get to bullseye. We don't want the blade to start moving automatically unless we are sure that the blade needs to go up. If the blade wants to move down and we are not moving, it will simply lift the front of the skid. So my oil flow is deactivated. I activate my alternative mode again. There, look at the screen. These zeros and autos at the top of the screen are yellow. Then when I activate the automatic, it turns red, which means the automatic is on. Look at the big red arrows. It means the blade needs to go up. This means that once I activate my oil flow, the blade will go up. It won't lift the skid. So I stop the alternative mode, press the button for the continuous flow, and raise my engine throttle to 80%. Then I start moving forward slowly. When grading in automatic, all I need to do is to keep the blade as parallel to the ground as possible. I want to make sure the cutting edge is parallel because that's where the blade is most efficient. To do it, I look at the central laser pole. The top of the charcoal gray section is parallel to the cutting edge. I'm able to figure out how to adjust the blade's pitch to be flat on the ground. I'm moving slowly. My wings are open. You can feel that the skid steer is doing well even if there is a lot of material in the blade. It is grading well. I have no more material, so I stop my oil flow. I pitch the blade backwards. In some cases, you stop the oil flow. There are other skid steers. It's easier to stop the automatic mode instead. You can choose depending on the machine that you have whether to stop the oil flow or the automatic mode. I don't fight against the blade. It's like a bulldozer when there's a lot of material. Often it's the blade that's leading you. Now I'm getting close to the edge. I won't drop my excess material too close of the edge, just to make it easier to pick up later. There, you see, I'm backing off where I've just graded. I don't feel big bumps. That means my grading is already pretty good. I can swivel left, right, I can move around in any direction. My height and tilt will always be correcting properly since I have two laser receivers. It's different when working with a slope sensor. So there, you see with my right hand I compensate a little to keep my cutting edge parallel to the ground as much as possible. It still works if it's pitched forward, but for a better cut, better precision, and to make it easier to operate, it's better to keep it flat on the ground, parallel to the ground. If the blade is pitched forward, it will be more aggressive. It will be easier to dig. Although, the pole will also be pitched forward, which changes the height a little. The blade will tend to grade a bit higher than when the cutting edge is flat on the ground. So you see, with a few passes, we're already getting close to a very promising final grade. I just lowered the arms a bit because the blade was almost all the way down, at its minimum height. So when slowly lowering the arms, the blade will correct in the opposite direction and it will get me back in the working range of the up-down cylinder. As any grading operator knows, you have to keep the wheels or the tracks on even surface if you want a precise and smooth final grade. You also have to move slowly. If you go too fast, well, you'll get an accuracy of maybe 3/4 of an inch. But if you want very good accuracy and a better finish, you need to go slower so that the electro-hydraulic system has enough time to do the corrections needed. If the system doesn't have time to work as it should, we obviously won't get the precision we're aiming for. I put my blade as parallel to the ground as possible. So you see in any direction it's grading, there's no problem. And here, if I want, I can rag my excess material, but for this pass I don't have much. I'll stop the oil flow. But the extra material I have over there, I can go and grab it if I want. You'll see, it's pretty simple. You just lift the blade and go over the pile of material. Then you lower the arms and stop at the same height as the grading we've just done. Then, as you move backwards, you slowly pitch the blade backward. We're certainly close to the grade right now. We already have a section that's pretty close to perfect grade. It could almost stay like that. Because normally, I finish by making some backward passes with the machine in float mode so that I can erase my skid steer track prints and cut small imperfections. But I'm going to do a bit more in automatic to show you how I do it pass to pass and get a precise final grade. Okay, now we see that we don't have enough material. We'll lower the transmitter by 1/4 of an inch. I could also do the same by offsetting my receivers with the feature in the Leica screen, but with the receiver model I have right now I can't use the offset, so we will lower the transmitter instead. So we lowered it by 1/4 of an inch. So now I will move slowly because when I start doing the final grade like this, I don't have much material in the blade. We only lowered by 1/4 inch. Also, here we didn't grade this area and we seem to be a little lower already. When we don't have much material in the blade we need to move a bit slower. But now, as we go, we're going to start picking up material. Now let's pretend that we're in an arena, for example, where we'd be pushing the excess material out the door. Okay, at the end, I swivel to the right, I stop the oil flow, and our first pass is given. What I normally do is grade with 2/3 of the width of the blade, and the other 1/3 is over my last pass. If I see that I've got too much material accumulating, that it starts overflowing too much, I'll take a little less, because since it's my final passes, I don't want to have much material falling off the wing. It's okay if it falls off the wing when it's not the final pass, but not when it's the last pass. If there's a little overflow, it's fine, because with my final backward passes on float, it's going to correct all the little imperfections. As mentioned earlier, right now we cut 1/4 of an inch. As you can see, we grade at a decent pace because we already had a precise grade underneath, even if there were some imperfections. There, as you can see, we are accumulating material as we go since we lowered the transmitter by 1/4 inch. In fact, here we're about 50 feet wide by 120, that's 6,000 feet. Normally, it's roughly a 30-minute job. We're a little short on material. I think we're going to change direction. At the other end, there seems to be a little more. So I keep using the curl motion to be parallel to the ground. We are just missing a bit of material at the beginning. There is some excess material falling off the right wing, but it's not dramatic since it's not a big quantity. I swivel my blade, I bring my excess material to the edge, and then I will change direction. I'll try not to leave too many track prints, so I'm slowly turning around. Now you see the excess material from last pass. We will keep pushing it as we do our final grade. We go down, we activate the automatic mode, we swivel to the right. The blade will stabilize as it takes its cut. So we take it easy at first, because the tracks are running over some imperfections. When the tracks stabilize, you can accelerate. Finally, you need to have some material in the blade. An empty blade won't grade well. You need the tracks to run on graded material to avoid lifting or lowering the blade when running over bumps. Then you have to keep the blade flat on the ground as you go. I will just angle it backward a bit to be perfectly flat. Now, you see, we are stable. Its position. It will be easy for the blade to keep its grade till the end of the pass. The reason we must compensate like this is because we have the bucket's curl motion on these machines. We don't have the stability of bulldozers' arms, although, at the end of the day we can load up a 12-wheeler, connect a broom to clean up the asphalt, or even hook up an auger. These are the pros and cons of a skid steer. I activate the automatic mode and begin slowly because the tracks are not currently on perfect grade. I swivel a bit more to the right. For your information, for manually controlled blades, some customers ask us, "Hey, I'm pressing the buttons and nothing's happening." That's because you always have to send oil with the rocker switch or thumb wheel. As you now know, for MCR models like this one, we have continuous hydraulic flow to the valve. So there is always oil in the hydraulic system. So you just have to press the buttons. But for our standard or tilt plate models, they don't have a proportional valve. So you need to press and hold a button to open the valve spool, and then you use the rocker switch here, which is like this one, or it can be up-down thumb wheel on certain skid steer brands. Both the electrical auxiliary and the hydraulic auxiliary needs to be used in combination. So we are almost done. I have to pass his left. We're going to leave the excess material at both ends, then I'm going to do a little bit of back grading with the float mode. You'll see, it really makes a nice finish. The grade is very nice. We try not to leave too much excess material on the final grade. We're just about finished. It is not 100% finished, but it will be fine considering this is only for demonstration purposes. The tracks are stable. We are grading at a decent speed right now. So to recap, when grading in manual mode, we need to set our up-down movement to our traction level adjustment. Then we only use the bucket curl motion to either dig or elevate. Then we make sure we always have enough material in the blade because an empty blade grades poorly. In automatic mode, we have to make sure not to activate the automatics if the screen indicates that the blades needs to go down. We either need to be moving forward before activating it, or we activate it only once the blade is bullseye or that it needs to go up. This is to avoid that the blade lifts the front of the machine. So you see the match on the left, it's pretty perfect. I'm just removing the remaining excess material. After that, I'll show you how to back grade with float on. It's not the same for all skid steers. You'll have to find how to activate it with your machine. For a Kubota SVL95, float is pretty easy to activate. Before activating the float, you need to align the blade either up or down to your traction level adjustment. So I'm disabling the automatic mode. To do it, I activate my alternative mode here. Deactivate the automatic, and deactivate the alternative mode. Then I reactivate the oil flow. Then I move the blade up back to my traction level adjustment mark. I push my right joystick forward. There's a trigger joystick at the front here, and there, you see, I'm in float mode. I make sure my blade tilt is straight. I put the cutting edge flat on the ground. If I want to be more aggressive, I keep it flat. It will cut a little. But since we graded in automatic mode, my precision is good, I don't want to change the grade. So I pitch the blade forward a little, to make it less aggressive, and then take it easy and see what happens. If it picks up too much material, I pitch forward even more. I don't want to cut much material, I just want to make small corrections, pick up the excess material, and get a nice smooth finish. So I come back down and go into float mode. And now I'm going to pitch the blade more. I cut too much on the last pass. I always try to make sure that I'm flat. The pitch forward is to cut only what is needed. So now it cuts less and it just picks up leftover material and compacts it a bit. So in these cases, it's always better to be pitched a bit more forward. It is better to take less material and angle backward as you go if you need to cut a bit more rather than digging too much. Then I make sure to reactivate the float and I get back to the regular speed and I pitch forward a little more. You'll see the compaction effect. The finish is just amazing. What's interesting is that you get a very nice surface finish along with very good precision. So all the elements are there to make an adequate finish. When I want to drop the excess material, I just pitch the blade forward even more. It will slowly drop it as we go. I put my float mode back on and repeat the same action, not too aggressively on the ground. And I don't go backwards at high speed because if we move too fast and there are small defects, they will be amplified by the speed, so I usually go at the maximum of the first speed, not on the second speed, the rabbit mode. Now I will do another pass here. I'm double checking to see if my float mode is still activated, and I will be careful because I'm angled in relation to the edge. If I don't tilt forward enough, I'll pick up a lot of material as I move backwards. You have to be careful on the edges like that. I probably picked up about 1/8 of an inch there. So again, I double check that my float mode is activated. I am careful not to cut the edge too much. So as you can see, we drag most of the excess material, cut the small imperfections here and there. We have a finish that is overall very nice. So that's what I wanted to show you guys today. Thank you for watching.